Hey everybody, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. Today we are counting down the top 10 scary Sonic stories. Now in the past, we've covered a lot of scary Sonic content, from urban legends about the franchise to story beats within the games themselves. And Sonic's history has no shortage of spooks. But with this list, we'll be focusing more so on creepy tales from the perspectives of players, including creepypastas. So get ready to be a little freaked out by our list. Or not. Some of them aren't even all that scary. It's just kinda neat takes on popular Sonic creepypastas. That being said, let's jump in. And at number 10, don't play track 1. This story tells of a gamer named Tyler who bought himself a Dreamcast in 2000, along with Sonic Adventure. He loved the game, and almost a year had passed since he had bought it, and he still adored it. Tyler even started to listen to the soundtrack on a frequent basis, so he thought he'd try popping in the disc into his CD player to see if it'd play the music, despite it being a GD-ROM and not a CD-ROM. This is when he heard the Dreamcast disc warning, informing him that if he continued to play the disc in the CD player, it could damage it. He ignored the warning and selected track 1. This is when his eardrums were assaulted. A loud screeching noise blared out from his speakers, and continued to do so as the speakers started to leak mercury. Freaked out, Tyler pulled out the disc and put it back in his Dreamcast as he cleaned it up. After he was done, he decided to play Sonic Adventure to get his mind off of his screw-up. But the game was all wonky now. All the colors were distorted, and the save files were corrupt. So he started a new game instead, frustrated. It was almost unbearable to play. There was so much static, and eventually a warning popped up on his screen, reading, "Your GD-ROM of Sonic Adventure has suffered irreparable damage." Disappointed, Tyler pulled out the disc and smashed it. But for the next several weeks that followed, he would have strange dreams. He was standing knee-deep in mercury, almost drowning in it, before waking up every morning drenched in sweat. So that one wasn't that scary. What about our number 9? Maria's Revenge. This story tells of a player who had recently learned how to hack and emulate video games, and decides to boot up Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. The player discovers a Maria Robotnik menu theme. Now after he implements it, the game shuts down on him. So he restarts it. But this time, Maria didn't appear as she did previously. She was now holding the pose from the Shadows Past cutscene, and the graphics had downgraded, looking as if they were created in MS Paint. On top of that, the game lagged, the graphics contorted, but he just decided to continue to play. Now in the Kale Garden stage, he started to notice that Maria was appearing subtly everywhere. Her head appeared on a rock, her hair on a kale. It freaked him out, so he shut off the game and shut off the Maria theme. Then when he turned it back on and continued to play, she continued to show up, even more, with her head enlarged or her naked body visible. As he continued playing, messages started to appear in the game. Words the likes of "kill." The game continued to glitch and he started to see the likes of this. The player ended up having to murder Gerald Robotnik in order to give Maria peace. The game then ends with the words, "Thank you," before shutting off on him forever. Moving on to number 8, Robotnik's Torture. A young woman is playing Sonic CD after going through a stint of Sonic nostalgia when she introduced her younger sibling to the series. Now she's facing off against Metal Sonic when her game starts to act up. When Metal Sonic is defeated, rather than falling off screen, he gets stuck by the wall and is destroyed by Robotnik's laser beam. Thinking this is just a moment in the game that she remembered incorrectly, the player saves the game and exits. The next day, her mother is oddly ill, and she finds her cats hissing at her Sonic Mega Collections Plus game. She ignores it and decides to play some Sonic 1 this time. And when she faces off against Robotnik in her first boss battle, he smiles menacingly when he's defeated, and the whole zone turns into a weird rusted version of itself. So she sends a message to her boyfriend about the games, and he says that he'll come take a look at them and see if the collection is a hacked copy. But that night she has a dream about Robotnik, where he threatens her. Waking up, she finds herself unable to fall back asleep, so she decides to keep playing Sonic 1. This is when Robotnik starts addressing her through her television screen, and in order to make him go away, she fights him, controlling Sonic. She defeats him, goes to bed relieved, believing that this weird Robotnik has finally been rid from her game. But the next morning, she wakes up to an email in her inbox, written in Japanese from an unknown sender. When she goes to translate it, it reads, "You will fear me." Up next, number 7, Black Space. Black Space starts off as a story about the author's sister, and how she was an expert at all things Mega Drive, especially Sonic. When Sonic 3 and Knuckles came out, she managed to find an odd glitch outside of debug mode that let her drop Sonic all over the top of the credits and go supersonic. Except instead of yellow, he would just turn red. Eventually she grew up, moved out of their family home, and left the Mega Drive behind. Years later, when the family all got back together and were staying over for the holidays, they busted out the Mega Drive and played some games together. That night, the author couldn't sleep, so he goes downstairs for a glass of water. He decides to play a bit of Sonic 3 and Knuckles until he was tired enough to go back to bed. He tried out the glitch that his sister used in the past, except this time, all of the rest of the game turned red instead of Sonic. He's like, whatever, and continues to play the game, even though it keeps glitching. That's when Sonic begins to fall down his screen. The player decides to screw around a bit in debug mode, resulting in him bouncing the falling Sonic in the game, playing a game of Keepy Uppy. With the game being, Sonic has his death animation, begins to fall, he turns Sonic into an object, which bounces up, and the cycle continues for a while. As he continues to play, the game continues to glitch until one of the Sonic sprites just continues to fall, unresponsive to his controls. The player watches him fall for a while, but then dozes off, waking up later in the night. What appears on the screen in front of him blows his mind. The screen is entirely black, no longer red, and at its bottom is a bunch of squirming sprites. A split second later, he realizes that it's a bunch of Sonics twitching and squirming around in what can only be described as a Sonic landfill. These were all the Sonics that he was playing Keepy Uppy with. In our number 6 spot, Possessed Amy. Now if you've ever heard about the deleted zones in Sonic 2 that some players have found over the years, like Genocide City or Hidden Palace, this creepypasta will interest you. Genocide City is notorious for being unsettling. When you load it, a blank screen appears and Sonic will fall immediately to his death. Anywho, in this tale, a player receives an unmarked CD in the mail from an old friend of his that he hasn't heard from in a while. So he pops the disc into his computer and there's 2 files on it. One is labeled Undead EXE. So he opens it and sees Amy in the original 1991 Sonic game. Thinking it was a ROM, he gets excited and starts to play. The game enters a character select, and it looks like the one from Sonic 3, with Tails, Sonic, and Sally Acorn appearing. Shrugging it off, he decides to play as Tails. The rest of the story plays out the way that the Sonic EXE creepypasta does. The game loads, it's a flat zone, and dead animals begin to appear. Creepy laughter is heard, and then Amy appears, flashing periodically on the player's screen. Amy's sprite eventually appears in front of his Tails sprite and lunges at it. The screen goes black and a loud screeching noise comes out of the player's computer. That's when he hears a female-like distorted voice that says, "Aw, that's too bad. Let's try again." Up next, number 5, The Devourer. The Devourer is a tale about one of the escaped servants of Dark Gaia who appeared after Gaia's defeat. The Devourer is said to be an entity that surrounds you in darkness, and after a long period of silence will strike you with unimaginable pain. But as this creepypasta depicts with several soldiers, when the Devourer tortures you, you become a monster yourself. While they're out on their tour, one soldier by the name of Richard begins howling in pain. He opens up his mouth wide, and those around him swear that they saw a flash of purple lightning strike him. That's when things get demonic. Richard begins to attack the soldiers and pins one down to the ground before ripping him apart, eating his flesh chunk by chunk. One by one, Richard devours the soldiers until he falls onto the ground, seemingly dead amongst the bodies of his victims. That was weird. And at number 4, The Mega Glitch. This story is about a gamer who finds his old Sega Genesis buried in his closet, along with a copy of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. He decides to give it a play even though the console was in rough condition. When he starts up the game, he noticed that his save files were gone. Shrugging it off, he just starts a new one. And after a few hours of play, he beats the game. So he decides to search through YouTube and test out some glitches for fun. He stumbles upon something called the Mega Glitch, which allowed a player to loop back, which took you to a spot in the game that normally crashed, but lets you avoid that crash, therefore witnessing some really crazy glitches. So he gives it a go, and after a few attempts he manages to succeed. But after a few minutes of crazy glitching, his system shuts down. Assuming that the Genesis was busted, he decides to play Sonic Generations on his PS3 instead. But the game is acting weird. It's lagging. The music doesn't play, and Sonic has a strange expression on his face. When Sonic is killed by an enemy, he has a different death sequence. White noise blasts through the speakers, and the enemies keep attacking him instead of the game respawning. After a few minutes, he eventually respawns though, so the player continues to play. Over the course of the next hour, Sonic keeps getting killed in brutal ways that the player doesn't remember the game ever featuring. After dying again and again, the player hears Sonic saying something over and over in a high pitch. He listens closely, and it's the word Mega Glitch, with Sonic repeating it over and over. But before the player could investigate further, his screen goes black, and music from the Lava Reef stage begins to play. The player tries to make the system function again, but he can't. Yet the music keeps playing, and that's when he realizes it. The music wasn't coming from the system, it was coming from his head, and it wouldn't stop. Ooh, so scary. Up next, number 3, Sonic Depression. Sonic Depression is a creepypasta about a player who finds a cartridge of Sonic the Hedgehog, except when he plays the game, the logo isn't the Sonic logo we all recognize. It's a different one that reads Sonic Depression. Confused, he just starts the game anyway. Rather than the first title card reading Green Hill Zone Act 1, the text has been replaced with the word life. The level plays like normal though, but by the time he gets to Act 2, the title card is different again, and reads Confusion. This act was altered. There were only a handful of enemies and obstacles. Sonic's sprite had a sad expression on its face as he navigated the level, so the player shuts it off and then goes to school. When he returns home, he brings a friend to show him the game, but the game is now frozen. His friend goes home and the game unfreezes. That's when a text box pops up on his screen and reads, Only one may see this. The next level is titled Depression and is void of enemies. The whole stage is flat. The player moves Sonic forward and discovers a tombstone with Sonic's name on it. Now before he knows it, a pair of spikes shoot up and hit Sonic. Another title card appears that reads Realization. Sonic reappears on his screen, but this time the ground beneath him is crumbling, and the screen is soon engulfed in black. The player tries to move Sonic around, speeding away from the abyss, but it's just too fast for him, and consumes Sonic entirely. Up next, number 2, Tails Abuse. One night a player was up late playing Sonic 2 on an emulator. Bored of traversing through the stages, he thought he'd have a little fun by messing around with Tails, and some enemies, taunting his foes. He was enjoying himself until Tails' animation changed to the animation he makes when he's drowning, which was really weird. Tails drops out of the frame and didn't return, so the player reset his game. When the game booted back up, Tails was missing from the opening logo. When the game began, there was only the option to play as Sonic. Tails was also missing from the character select too, so the player shuts off the game again and resets it. This time around, the logo glitched, but after the game started up, everything seemed normal. Then he reaches the first boss with Tails, and the character's drowning animation appears again. The screen turns white. A text box appears that reads, "You killed him." The player tries to turn off the game and the system, but it doesn't work. That's when something else happens. The player ends up in the chemical plant zone. Blood is everywhere, and Sonic appears, but wasn't in his control. Another text box then appears that simply reads, "Yes or no." So obviously the player chooses no, but wasn't allowed to select it. Regretfully, he then selects yes, and 5 seconds later, after the screen faded to black, Tails' corpse appeared. And that's it. And last but not least, in at number 1, Antisonic.dll. This story is said to be derived from an audio file found on a website that was available for the public for 3 days before it was taken down. The MP3 contained 26 minutes of a voice speaking, someone named Chris Lawrence, discussing an experience that ties into Sonic EXE. Now if you're unfamiliar, the Sonic EXE myth is about a PC port of Sonic the Hedgehog that contains a demonic version of the main character, and is said to have haunted and chased down those who have played it. Chris tells of how he heard about Sonic EXE from a top 10 YouTube video, so he decided to hunt down a copy of it. He did, played it, and was fascinated by it. It wasn't the original game though, but rather one crafted after the myth. Shortly afterwards, someone by the name of Gamma added him as a friend on Steam. Before he could send them a message though, Gamma beat him to it, referring to Chris by his name. Chris began to hear laughter through his headphones. His monitor began to act up, and scratch marks appeared. They grew bigger and bigger, and became gashes that looked like flesh was beneath the cuts. Then a moment later, all of the noise and damage was gone. In the audio file, he goes on to describe stranger and stranger events happening to his computer, until the audio file itself cuts out briefly, turning into static, and then cutting to what sounds like wind blowing. A voice then returns, but it's not Chris, it's this.
Having fun? I hope so. I hope you enjoyed watching.
The audio clip cuts to a mixture of audio clips and screams before returning to Chris's voice, warning people about playing Sonic EXE, all of which sounds like he's gone completely mental, and that he's hallucinating. You can then hear Chris struggling with something in the background. Gunfire is heard, and then it becomes static once more. Alright, there we have it friends. That was a long video. So, did any of these stories actually scare you? Which ones made you laugh? And which of these do you wish were more frightening? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know. But if you dug this video, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Gaming for all your gaming needs. From lists to news to updates to more Sonic. Thanks for watching everybody, I'll catch you all in the next video.